So speaking of the Friday, was there lessons that you learned? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Was there issues with Warner Brother because they own the franchise, right?
Warner Brothers, they distribute the franchise.
Okay.
So they distributed the first one, and it has in the contract that they have the right to distribute each one
Each
after
one.
that.
So what were there issues trying to make more Fridays? Like they have to approve something before you can actually make a Friday.
Yeah.
So talk about that. If they,
Well, we, we did the first one, and I wasn't gonna do another one after that. They approached me, could you think of another one? Um, so I said yeah, and then I approached Chris Tucker. He didn't want to do it. So I was like, oh, okay, this kind of throw a little monkey wrench in the movie. So we did it next Friday with Mike Epps. That was great. People loved it. Then we did Friday after next. And then they asked me to write a fourth one. And I wrote, and they they had an issue because um, Craig and Day Day ends up in jail from selling weed, and finally end up in jail. And Debo and the Joker brothers is trying to, I mean, they in jail too, so they trying to, stab them up and shit. So they just was like, jail's not funny, nobody's gonna laugh about being in jail. And I'm like, you ridiculous. Like, then all these movies come out like Orange is the New Black and Let's Go to Jail and
life.
Life and Get Hard and all this shit. And I'm like, okay, so y'all definitely don't know what y'all talking about. So I just kind of, that was in 2013. So I just kind of stopped paying attention to them. Then they asked again, they begged again for me to write another one. So I said, okay, I'm gonna write one to fit this time. Won't be about jail. And they loved it, but they just had these little notes that they kept
Trying to change things.
trying to change it. And I'm like, dude, you guys do not know what needs to go in a Friday movie. Like, stop pretending like you guys are smart when it comes to this shit. You know what I mean? I know it.
Mhm.
I know it's gonna work. I know it's not gonna work. And they just kept messing around, ignoring notes, back and forth, back and forth. 6 months of this shit, and then John Witherspoon passed away.
Mm.
So they like just fucked around till the man passed away, and then Tiny passes
Yeah.
away,
Yep,
and
yep.
AJ Johnson. It's like the movie we were gonna go back on the block, and so I've been trying to get control of the franchise since then.
So you essentially let me just
Yeah.
you essentially you wrote two. You actually wrote two more Fridays,
Yeah,
and that's never came out.
yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
So you say you're trying to get control of the franchise. How do you go about trying to get control of the franchise?
Um, I mean, of course, appealing to their superiors on, their basically sleeping on money.
Is it like a
Saving
buyout thing?
money.
Maybe like if you pay, you can.
Not, I'm not, I'm not gonna pay for it.
I was just
I'm not gonna pay. What they need to do is let me control it, and they'll make a lot of money, but they're not gonna make it from me.
so you're open to doing another one.
I'm open to seeing if another one can be done.
Yeah. While you're doing that, while that's happening, there's still other franchises being created that you're involved in,
Yeah,
right? So Barbershop
yeah,
is right there. Do you have the Are We There Yet?
yep.
And so now you're like entrenched in family households. I wonder what that experience was like for you from Boys in the Hood to that point. Like, there's a generation where it's like, oh, Ice Cube, the guy who makes the kid movies. Like, I grew up, Ice Cube was the dude that was telling us that, and I was like, yeah, I'm with this. I'm with this. So, like, how's that transition? Because we don't see people grow, right? We don't see our artists grow. We don't see them evolve, and we don't see them have these moments. So, what was that transition like for you?
It's amazing, to be able to sustain love in families. And like, once I realized my fans, my core fans, were having kids, and they kids was in elementary and junior high.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, it's time to do something to make sure I'm still cool in this household, that household, or whatever. Last thing I want you to look at your kid and be like, Ice Cube, you should look him up. He used to be cool, you know what I mean? We used to rock him.
We used to
He used
let me
to.
put this record on.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted the kids to know who I was. So the way to do that is to do a movie that they love and that's always gonna get played. Like, see, are we there yet? The kids grow up, they love it, but they outgrow it. But then there's always new kids coming up who their parents is like, yo,
Hmm.
sick of you bugging me, stick you in front of a movie, put in Are We There Yet? So the love is generated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With each generation that watch that movie, they end up growing up and then they reach a point where they discover my music, they discover my other movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a way to rejuvenate fans
Yeah.
and to make sure that the youngsters know who you are and they're not just relying on you should have heard death certificate. You know what I
You
mean?
should have heard today was a good day.
Yeah.
You've done something very unique inside of that too, and that's providing opportunities. So that's the first time we see Eve in a movie. It's the
Yeah.
first time we see Nicki Minaj in that type of role. Are you were super intentional about that, like giving opportunities to people, especially in the rap world?
If they're great, you know what I mean? If they're good, if they have a a personality that I think people want to see more of, um, yeah, it's really all about being the right person for the role. Um, and so, you know, I didn't know they was all gonna work out. You know what I mean? You never know how it's gonna be when they actually audition or they come on set. But yeah, I want to give people a shot that Hollywood may be overlooking.
So speaking of Hollywood screenwriters, they're on strike right now, and this goes back to the Web3 conversation where somebody told me, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, they might not have as much leverage this time because of Chat GBT, and it's like, well, if I can have a computer write a script in a day, then I don't necessarily need a screenwriter.
True.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's something that's um, very real, and it can happen. Yeah, you can have a computer write you a script in a day. Um, but at the end of the day, will it be as real as a person writing it? Will it have that feel to it? Um, who knows? It's a new world. That's why they on strike. They want to you know curve it in some ways. The worst thing is for them to tell the studios not to do it, but then they go home and do it. When it's time for them to turn in that script.
Yeah, they cheating.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, technology is here. Everybody got to make an adjustment. Um, I don't know if I want all my entertainment to come from an artificial source. I may just check out.